In this video, we're going to be talking about developer space settings. So if you're in MarketingHub and you click on the settings button down here in the bottom left, it's going to take you to this screen. And under developer space, you'll see APIs, webhooks, and workflows. And so these are basically 3 ways to move data around and have data change automatically and in between different systems. So the first API, the first developer space menu item, APIs. API stands for Application Program Interface. And basically, again, I think this is outside the scope of knowing MarketingHub settings, but the idea here is there is an entire API, kind of like a programming language, that if you have developers or access to developers, they can create everything that you can come in here and click and do. A developer can actually leverage this API to do that for you. And also, you figure all of the information that you have here in your Zoho Marketing Hub, an API can actually pull that information. And so, again, API is just a way to connect two different systems. So you may have an external system like your website, or maybe you have an external system like a partner or something, and you want to get information flowing back and forth. I'll include a link to the documentation on this, but I think most people will not be using this API tab. And so if we're back here, developer space here under webhooks, so webhooks have gotten more popular over the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years. If you've heard of Zapier, Zapier is kind of, I think, one thing that actually made webhooks super popular. And webhooks, just like the API, can connect 2 different systems and push information to and from systems. The same thing here with webhooks. And so there are 2 native webhooks that Zoho Marketing Hub comes with. And so here, lead webhook. If we were to do create, we could create a new lead webhook. So you do have to know the webhook URL. You'll have to talk to your developer to get that. But one scenario I wanted to lay out here is if you are using WordPress, and you're using BuddyPress, or you're using MemberPress, or you're using some kind of plugin that has users and they have groups. One scenario could be that we add, whenever a user is added to a list in our Marketing Hub, that user is also added to a group in our WordPress. And that's just one scenario, but you can see here, once we have the webhook URL, this is going to be a post because we're sending to WordPress. And then this is where we configure the payload. And so if we were to be sending this to WordPress when someone subscribes to a particular email list, we could do first name, first here, first, and then we can also do our custom field. So we actually have a custom field for user personas, and we can do campaign fields and personas. And again, I can't say this because it's not actually linked to anything, but the idea is get this information from your web developer, and this is where you can configure the payload that is being pushed to your data source. Now, we do work with WordPress all the time, and one of the plugins we like is this WP Webhooks Pro. This allows you to, or this makes it easy for you to create webhooks in WordPress, and it automatically generates the URLs for you, and they make it quite easy. And so once you have this installed, it's going to give you kind of a base level URL, and then that's something that you could put in here. And so that's kind of webhooks. And the other thing here is workflows. Now, we are going to quickly hit this workflows, but these things are so powerful that, with this, I'm just doing an overview of settings, and so I don't want to get too involved. But if we click on workflows, will show you our existing workflows, but in order to create a new workflow, you need to go to a list and then come in here and choose workflow. And I'm just going to set up a temporary one right here to just kind of give you the idea of what we're doing. So if we create an instant workflow, and we're going to say, let's call this one health and wellness. And what we're going to do is, when a lead meets this criteria, the criteria we're going to set up here is industry is health and wellness. It says, well, okay, well, once the lead is determined that they are in the industry of health and wellness, then what? We're going to perform these actions. We're going to, you can see we have about 12 different actions here. And so we're going to add the leads to a list. What list do we want to add them to? How about this health and wellness list here? And we can take other actions. So one of our actions could be to add a tag to this person. Anyone that has an industry that is health and wellness will get this tag as well. Now we can add another action, which could be to call upon the webhook that we just created. Add webhook, and if we were able to save the previously created webhook, that would be available here. And the idea being, we could basically configure this so that whenever we add a lead or contact to our marketing hub, that's through CRM or through a web form or some kind of external source, the leads are going to come in. If the industry is health and wellness, these things are going to automatically apply. And so just briefly to go over these other ones that are available, you can remove leads from list. You can send them an email. If we click send email, you'll notice over here this actually changed to configure content, and that is so that we can actually create the email that's going to be sending out. Some of the other actions that we can do here is push data to CRM. We can update fields. We can add scores, remove tags, and just a bunch of things that we can do. We can build out audience profiles for products. So I'm going to leave this here, but just know that when we are looking at the settings and you see workflows here, this is where you use the GUI to add automations and get things done automatically. And so I will leave this video here, and I will include some links to this stuff in the video description.